Hello, I'm Tony, and today we are descending into hell again in Book of Demons, a game free from Prime Gaming until the 26th of April 2023. The About part in the Amazon Games launcher kind of misled me a little bit. It talks about this game being a deck builder, which gave me the impression it was going to be a turn-based game where you play your cards, but it's really not. The cards are much closer to being skills, and the game plays more like a Diablo. Closer, but not actually Diablo. I know because I've been playing a lot of the Diablo 4 open beta, and I can definitely tell the difference. Let's dive into Book of Demons though. The first thing you see when running the game is a selection screen that consists of book plinths, two of which have books on. One's the Book of Demons, and another's a game that allows you to wishlist it. There's also a buy button for what I think is a microtransaction for the Book of Demons, but I'm not going to find out because I ain't paying for it. Getting into the game, the art style of the graphics is really striking. Everything in the game looks like it's made from folded paper, which is very appropriate for the Book of theme, and they're really nicely animated. It's very appealing. We do have voice acting of varying quality and a general medieval aesthetic throughout. In the game itself, I do have to give a special mention to the sound effects. They add a lot to the game and provide tons of information, since they change according to the enemies you're hitting and what defences they have and the effect they might have on you. But I'll talk about that more a little bit later. You start in a town which is your hub for this not really but kind of roguelike game. The main gameplay loop is to enter the cathedral, which ironically serves as the entrance to hell. And once you've got a few levels under your belt, you get to choose how large an area you take on, and that gives you an estimated completion time, which is handy for those who've got limited time for playing. The longer a run you choose, the more gold and loot you will earn, but also the further down towards the final boss you'll get. That does come with more risk, since dying will cause you to lose all the loot you've gathered. Fortunately, if you do die, you leave a corpse that you can recover and you get all your gear back, which is in the form of the cards that you took with you. All of the progress you make towards the final boss is saved if you complete these levels, and you can retry at the same point if you do die. As I said at the beginning, the gameplay is Diablo-like, but with much more limited movement. You walk through the crypts of a dungeon on prescribed pathways, even though the enemies that spawn in are able to travel anywhere they like. This can lead to unfortunate situations where you get boxed in by a couple of enemies, while a dozen or more are able to take potshots at you from pretty much everywhere, even off screen. Your character auto-attacks very slowly, but clicking on enemies attacks as quickly as you click, so you will absolutely need to be doing this. The auto-attack actually can be more of a liability than a help, especially when you encounter monsters that fire off a powerful attack if they've been hit too often too quickly. Your character moves along the paths when you click locations, even if they're not on a path, which can cause you to move when you didn't want to. I found it easier to control movement via WASD, since I could correct these inadvertent movements quicker. You also don't stop moving once you get going, unless you stop yourself or get to a junction. It does take a little while to get used to this movement style, but it ended up feeling controllable enough to not get in the way of the game. You use cards to provide both buffs to your character and as attack abilities, and I found all this easier to use via the keyboard, as pressing 1 to heal was a lot easier in tense situations, especially when I didn't want to stop attacking the thing that was trying to kill me. You start off with 4 available card slots, but can buy more for increasingly high prices in the town. And you want to do this because 4 is not enough. Cards are absolutely vital. So let's talk about them. They come in 3 different types. Active ones, such as healing potions or attacks or spells. Passive ones, like an amulet that replenishes your hit points, or one that is a weapon that gives you double attacks or ice damage. And finally, there's also upgrade cards. As you collect cards, you are effectively increasing your build options. You might end up with the option of going defensive with healing and lots of armour, or high DPS with mana replenishment that lets you chuck around high damage hammers or fireballs. More options become available as you find different rarities of cards, which add additional but random benefits on top of the base card. There's 3 different qualities, and all of the cards can be upgraded using the upgrade cards that you find. That follows the standard formula of needing higher level cards for higher upgrade levels, and more cards required per upgrade as you go from common up to legendary card quality. High tier upgrade cards can be created by merging lower grade cards, and again there's 3 levels. But as you delve deeper into the dungeon, you do start to pick up some of the higher level cards. Many of the cards you pick up will be unidentified, so you'll need to pay the sage in town to tell you what they are. The enemies in the game are a real strength. They're really varied, look great, and pose a real range of challenges. Some have shields, with an icon on the mob that needs to be clicked on first to disable it before you can actually hurt them. Others have poisonous hearts denoting their health, and will explode once killed, which poisons you if you're too close. Fortunately, you can cure poison if you click the little gargoyle picture above your health pool when it opens its mouth, though this gets a lot harder when you're in a big battle. Other mobs have golden hearts, that means they summon minions when you hurt them. There are a whole bunch more with different mechanics attached, giving you so much more to consider as you enter a fight. Some mobs have special attacks that you can see charging up above their heads, which can be interrupted by clicking and holding on them. In some cases this is essential. There's one mob that has a charge attack that absolutely wrecks you if it isn't stopped or avoided. And this can start off screen, which feels extremely unfair when it happens, but this is where the sound effects come in. A special sound effect plays that lets you know it's happening, and lets you know you better start moving. There are mini bosses on each level with their own special skills that trigger as you whittle down their health through different stages. The stages are visible in their status bar, so you know how many there are, and with experience you know what those stages actually mean. The mini bosses are hanging about in these randomly generated crypts, doing their mini boss stuff, and if you're unlucky you might end up with them in a small area or close to one of their other mini boss buddies, and having 2 of them gang up on you really gets interesting. There are also actual bosses, though as far as I can see there's only 3. These are way larger fights, and I found them a lot of fun. These bosses take up an entire level and do give a few cutscenes and a bit of story that I enjoy too. There are 3 character classes to play, though the mage and the rogue are not available to begin with. You need to get to level 5 with your warrior to unlock them, but that doesn't take too long. No progress is carried over between characters though. The mage and the rogue start out right at the beginning. Outside of the cards I'd found and upgraded, the leveling system is also really interesting. When you level, you get the choice of increasing your health or your mana by a point. But whatever you didn't choose goes into a cauldron, along with any treasure that you find. That's not the gold or the cards, that it's a separate lootable item. This cauldron is emptied if you die, but if you survive a run and go back to town, you can pay one of the NPCs to give you everything in the cauldron, providing a boost to both your money and your health and mana. It may not be a good idea to collect every time though, since the cost for emptying the cauldron increases every time you do it. I mostly found upgrade cards and money in this treasure, and there's bronze, silver and gold treasures giving appropriately high level rewards. I really enjoyed this game. It's more challenging than the cards and the 3D paper models initially suggest. There's a lot of precision clicking required here, and a lot of quick clicking, and so far none of the cards I've found have ever made me feel overpowered. The developers have put in a lot of quality of life aspects. For example, on each level you have icons at the top that let you know how many major encounters or objects are on the level, and if you've collected them or not. Once you've checked all these off, and are down to 5 items or mobs left on the map, it'll tell you where they are, if you wanted to fully clear each level. You can also move between levels at will, going back to one that's been cleared if you want. I used this a little bit when I had tricky battles, popping back to the previous level where I knew a healing fountain was. If you think this all sounds a little bit too easy, then that's fine. There's a roguelike mode where all drops are random, and dying means losing everything and going back to the village empty-handed. A much more challenging mode that I am absolutely not up for, but for those hardcore players might suit you. I've played for 8 hours so far, and I'm getting close to the third and final boss, though I think I'll need a couple more hours to get there. I'm still encountering new creatures, and the fights are getting pretty difficult. Running away is now just part of my skill set. I don't know how much replayability there's going to be, because although you can obviously play through with the other two characters, I think the encounters are basically going to be the same. It might be fun for a bit to build up the different skills each character gets, and which make the playstyle different, but I don't think it will keep its hold on me through 2 more playthroughs. The game also has a ton of achievements called awards, more than 200, which I assume are designed to keep you playing. And to get some of them you're going to need to keep playing a lot. For all the completionists out there, this is going to be a big challenge, but it's not something I'm going to be doing. Still, 10 hours of fun for a free game is absolutely great. And I'd be happy enough if I'd paid the £20 asking price too. I'd feel like I'd got my money's worth. This isn't for turn-based deck builders that would play games like Banners of Ruin. Despite it being billed as a deck builder, it's much more action oriented. But it's a really good game that I thoroughly enjoyed playing, and I definitely recommend. By the time this video is out, the Diablo 4 beta will be over, and I'll get back to playing this, though it's still tempting to split my gaming time between the two. Okay, that's all from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.